Hey guys, the Kamsh here. Today I thought I'd talk to you about something a little bit more theoretical, and that's how to actively continue improving as a Hearthstone player. So, if you guys play any sports or play any other strategic games like poker, chess, Go, Magic the Gathering, things like that, and if you've read any books on the subject, there'll always be a chapter or section on how to always actively improve as a player. And some of this advice will be pretty similar, other will be tailored to Hearthstone, but I thought I'd just talk about it a little bit because a lot of people want to, they want the sort of 5 easy tips to success or whatever. And while there isn't anything like that, there are definitely more time efficient ways to improve at the game than just grinding ladder. So, first, I'd like to point out that Hearthstone is actually a deceptively simple game, much like Go or chess, where you learn the rules, you're like, okay, I know the rules, I don't really need to know anything else. Once you grind out, some games against the bots, you're like, hey, I understand how this game works. I can point things at face. I can clear minions. I can play cards. And you think you're good to go. And even at higher levels, once you hit Legend with a deck, you're like, oh, I know how to do this. It's pretty easy. And you start playing very intuitively. And I think that's a trap. Obviously, not everyone can do the life coach thing where you analyze or try to analyze every possible situation. But if you think about it, if you have a board of 6 minions and your opponent has a board of, say, 4 minions, there are so many different mathematical combinations of how you can trade your minions. Now, obviously, we can shortcut a lot of those by eliminating them because they're just not efficient or aren't going to end well for us. But we can also hit face. There's just so many permutations, and a lot of people don't consider them. They just play very intuitively. And I think that's a trap because I, for example, I'm a very conservative player. I tend to overclear the board instead of getting aggressive, and sometimes that hurts me, and I can try to correct for that, but only because I've noticed it through watching my videos and things like that. If I had just continued playing by myself, I wouldn't have noticed that. And so each player sort of has their own tendencies and habits, sometimes bad habits, from when they first started playing the game and how they learned and things like that. Each player has his own thought process because we're all very different people, and people have their own thought processes and ways that they think about the game. So it's really important to sort of consider and try to not think like yourself. And I know that sounds very weird and abstract, but if you just always fall into your same rhythms and patterns, you're not going to improve as a player. You might stay consistent-ish, or as much as you can be in a game with this much RNG, but you're not going to find new lines or improve solely by just playing lots of games with the same mindset. So let's talk about some ways you can improve that. I think having someone watch your gameplay is really useful. If coaching is what you're into and you have some money to spare and you want to get some private coaching from some pro or semi-pro players, that's definitely a great way to go about it. They'll help you a lot, and they'll analyze your plays for you. They'll talk about it, and there's obviously someone very good. But you don't even have to go that route. If you have some friends who play Hearthstone, they don't even have to be better than you or high on ladder. They can be like rank 18, but still just playing a game and having them watch it and tell you, oh, I would have done this differently, is really useful because you get access into their thought process. You both make decisions at the same time, and it's just really useful. If you don't have any friends that play Hearthstone, if your friends aren't really into that, try looking on some forums and finding some people to play with. Maybe Skype while playing Hearthstone. Obviously, be safe and all that. But if you can meet some people to play Hearthstone with, that's definitely useful. If you can't do that, another really useful or easy way to do this is to watch streamers and try to make decisions before they play this. A lot of streamers tend to play a little bit slower because they're responding to chat, donations, etc. And while they're making their decisions on gameplay, make your decisions as well. And a lot of streamers will actually explain their lines, and while they might not touch on your specific line, they'll explain why they chose their line. And you can even, if their chat isn't going too fast, you can type your line in chat and maybe be like, hey, why didn't you do this? I'm really curious. And some of them will respond to you, and it's really useful. Also on YouTube videos, you can pause gameplay videos on Tempo Storm, for example, and think, what would I do in this situation? If you find a line and you're not sure why I or another player who's filming a gameplay video didn't take that line, you can definitely comment, and we'll try to get back to you, like, hey, I did this differently because, and so on and so forth. And it's just really useful to try to make the same make decisions in the same places as people and see why yours are different. And I think you can learn a lot from it. If you like recording yourself or commenting your own games or putting things up on YouTube, etc., there's a lot of great free ways to film yourself playing the game, like OBS, XSplit, things like that, Fraps, and you can you can record yourself playing Hearthstone and then upload it, and then maybe people will comment. I know I've learned a lot just from people commenting on my gameplay videos and being like, hey, why'd you do this line? And even if I still agree with my line, I have to think about why I took the line, because sometimes I take it intuitively. I'm like, oh, hey, why did my mind come to this decision in this short amount of time? Why did I take this line? I have to type it up and explain, and that teaches me a lot about how I think about the game and things like that. So one thing I just want you guys to take away is to definitely look at how you're making decisions, why you're making those decisions, and how other people would make those decisions differently. Another thing I'd like to talk about here is play games against friends or opponents, or just friend. If you play against someone, go on ladder, friend them and play them, and talk and chat while you're playing to discuss lines and things like that, and talk after the game. Like, hey, I thought you had an Alexstrasza in your hand, second from the left. I was trying to read your hand. Is this correct? Or, hey, I was scared that you had combos, so I played around it. How close were you to lethal? And things like that. And just knowing what your opponent actually had and how accurate you're reading and things like that is really useful. If you have someone that plays Hearthstone that you know or are close with, then definitely play against them as much as you can. It's really useful to have a testing partner. As many books for card games like Magic the Gathering will tell you, having a testing partner is super important. And if you test against them, they can definitely talk about more and tell you more than what your ladder opponent will. A lot of times people will not accept your friend requests after games because they think you're going to be salty or things like that. But I always try, if there was something in the game, I always try to friend request people, be like, hey, I noticed that you took this line, what was in your hand, like, why did you do this, great games, good luck on ladder, or something like that. And I always send them that message. Some people don't respond, some people don't add me, but a lot of people do, and they say, you know, hey, I took this line because, and it helps me learn a lot about the decisions I took in that game, why I took them, and you know, what the person was thinking, what they were doing, and I think that helps me improve a lot on ladder, and it's a great way to meet people in the community. Again, if you want to go the coaching route, ask the person that's coaching you to play a game against you rather than just watching your games, and to talk you through it. And you can talk to them after and be like, hey, all these lines that you took, like, what did you think I had in my hand, things like that. If it's a more professional player, you can also try to test their reading capabilities, be like, hey, what do you think I had in my hand? And then they'll try to guess, and you'll be surprised at how accurate they'll be. And things like that. So definitely find someone to play against that's not just on ladder, more in a casual match, and talk to them about it. Similarly, another point I'll leave you with is don't just play ladder. Like, a huge mistake people make is only playing ladder and thinking that they'll improve. Again, we talked about how you want to think more about things like that, but that's not just related to ladder. If you play, like, obviously, a lot of people will have done solo adventures, particularly if they're more competitively focused, to try to get all the cards like Nax, BRM, and things like that. But definitely also play Arena and Tavern Brawls. They make you think about the game in really different lights. And a lot of strategy games have things like this. Like chess has a lot of variants, like Bughouse, which is like a team thing where you can place pieces in places on the board, like double move, things like that. Fisher chess, where the pieces are arranged in a semi-random order. And similarly, by playing Hearthstone modes that are not typically like constructed, like Arena or especially some of the Tavern Brawls, you learn a lot both about how you make decisions and how you play the game, but you also learn a lot about certain aspects of the game. Like certain Tavern Brawls focus more on board control or card advantage and things like that, and it's a really good way to hone in on something specific and try to improve as a player. So I'm actually really happy they added Tavern Brawls, because not only are they fun, they'll also help people improve as players. And finally, one thing I want to touch on, and this is in almost all the books on any game, is that you really need to, the community is really helpful, and you really want to be part of that. So whether it's the Hearthstone subreddit, whether it's competitive websites like Tempo Storm, things like that, whether it's just a group of friends that plays Hearthstone, whether it's just some forum, anything like that, it's really good to have a community where you can discuss things. You can get a lot of different people's opinions. Some of those people will be better than you, some will be worse. They'll all have really different life experiences and all really different experiences with Hearthstone, but it's really useful to talk about the game. I have lots of friends who are like rank 10, they never hit legend, but I always love talking to them about the game because, you know, they provide me with lots of insights, and I think it's really useful to talk to them about things like that. So definitely use any resources you have. Use the community. Don't just play ladder, because if you only play ladder, you're going to run into dead ends. You're just going to try to hammer out, you're just going to try to get better by doing something like that. And Hearthstone isn't something like, I don't even know actually what's a good example of something that you can just get better at through constant practice. Maybe like push-ups or yo-yo or something like that. Although I guess you'd still be watching videos and like push-ups, you still want good form. But basically Hearthstone is something you want to do a variety of things about. You want to think about the game, you want to watch other people play the game. You want to think about it in different ways. You don't want to just play the game in the one format you're trying to get good at, because that's a really easy way to run into roadblocks. The last thing I want to leave you with is when something goes wrong in the game, try to think about what you could have done better. Obviously, Hearthstone has a lot of RNG, a lot of luck involved, and so it's always really easy to just blame the luck. But if you do that, then you won't improve as much as a player. This is sort of a internal locus of control versus external locus of control thing. Basically what that means is if you have an external locus of control, that means you blame your environment and the things around you for like the bad things that happen to you, versus an internal locus of control, you tend to blame yourself. Obviously, you don't want to blame yourself for too many things, and RNG happens in this game. But if you lose because of some ridiculous RNG, and you think to yourself, "Oh, how could I have played around this?" instead of "Wow, never lucky," not only are you going to be less tilted for future games, you're also more likely to improve. So that was my little discussion about some of the tips you can use to try to continue actively improving. Obviously, you're not just going to get better overnight by doing some of these things, but I think it's definitely really helpful to try some of them, and that's how I went, from not being a legend player to consistently being a legend player. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. If you guys want to watch me stream sometimes, follow me on twitch.tv/thekamshhs. If you'd like to talk to me about private coaching, contact me at thekamshhs@gmail.com. Definitely check out some other videos on tempostorm.com from lots of our other great content creators. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.